Hello, welcome, good morning, or whatever time it is where you are. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation video. This is Rudy, the dog. Hey, Rudy. I do this video each and every morning, shortly after waking up, to remember my life objectives and principles one by one, thinking about them, holding them in my hand, so to speak, looking at them from different angles, asking myself if they're crap, and then if they are, I chuck them out. And if they're all right, I hold on to them for another day. If I can find a blemish or a crack, I'll work to repair it. If I find a blemish or crack that I can't repair, then I'll dig into it and split the thing open and toss it over my shoulder, or I'll be left with a smaller piece, whatever the case may be. But it's work. It's the most important thing that I do every day, not just for myself, but for my family as well. And for my dogs, and for my community, for everybody, everything that I'm involved with, because I'm part and parcel of the big picture here. I'm just a small cog, but if I can be a sound and effective and efficient cog, good cog, a cog aimed in pursuing the course of virtue, where virtue is defined as the improvement of the well-being, the seeking and the achieving of the improvement of the well-being of thinking creatures like little Rudy, like you and me and all the other things that can suffer and know joy, then my time here will have been better. So I'll do this right now, but before I get started, I'll think about yesterday, and I'll ask myself about the challenges and opportunities that I met and worked with, and then I'll plan for the coming day. It's dark outside, and it's about 4:20 a.m. right now. I get up at 4. It takes me about 20 minutes to sort myself out every morning before I'm ready to start doing things in earnest. As for yesterday, didn't sleep so well. I was tossing and turning. I'm thinking about a couple of things. Thinking about work. I have a big project of sorts that it's really not. I don't know. Can you really call it a project? It is a project. It's the November midterms election, which I am acting as the project manager for this election for all the IT for the county where I work, and that's a lot of responsibility, because with an election you don't get a chance you can't have a second try, right? You got to get it right. So the last 2 elections before this, I've been shadowing someone else, learning how to do it. This is the first one of my own. Of course, that person's still there helping me. It's a team effort by far, right? So I'm certainly not alone on this. But there's a lot of responsibility on my shoulders right now, and we're less than 2 weeks away from the election. The engine is in full gear now. We are. I mean, if you've never had a chance to work in an election, it's a fascinating thing that begins months ahead of the event. It's like a huge production with dozens of people, hundreds of people, in fact, seasonal workers as well as full-time employees, coordinating a dance and a choreography of human activities, scheduling, technical equipment, testing, setup, utilization, breakdown. It's an amazing thing, by far the most complex real-time activity in terms of a project that I've ever worked on. I did create what's called a Gantt chart and a work breakdown structure for it. These are project management terms, so to speak, Gantt chart in particular. But I tried to break down all of the activities that the various teams do over the last 3 elections that I've so far been working on, so I can map it. I create a roadmap for the election. And it's astonishing how many pieces there are in all the Gantt chart, which is the kind of the 2-dimensional visual representation of all the activities and all the things linked together. It's spooky. And nothing can go wrong. 0 opportunity for any one piece to fail. It's like a moon launch in a way. It's like a rocket launch, right? I mean, everything's got to work. And it's got to work now, or the thing crashes. And if you're wondering, these things are incredibly secure. You don't need to worry about the integrity of these of these, at least the elections that I'm involved in, this is an amazingly secure, intact, and high integrity operation. Enough said. Probably, I don't like to talk too much about details of work, but that's what was keeping me up last night. Tomorrow is the kickoff of an 11-day countdown to the big event. So I was tossing and turning, thinking about all that last night, wondering if all the pieces are in place, and they seem to be. Whew, but I'm also moving tomorrow too, so geez Louise. And I'll be having meetings every day with the team, right through the weekends and everything, all the way to the election, and so, phew. What else was in my mind? The move itself, all the logistics. Again, we have more furniture than we are planned to take, and I've got to figure out what to do with that. So I'll put it out on the street with my famous box that says free, and which works great. I mean, crap's gone within hours. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully it'll be gone. If not, then we'll have to move it with us and find a way to dispose of it in Huntington Beach. So that's everything that was keeping me awake last night. So I didn't sleep so well. But I slept well enough. I'll be fine. Because I have fortitude, and I have internal will, and so to speak, even though it's not my own, I don't think, but I do have a will of a sort, and fortitude, and resolve. And I have a lot of meetings today, big events happening today on my other projects, of course, and then of course the election thing, of course, lots of stuff for that. Anyway, enough about work. Let's get into the good life, shall we? My 7 objectives are as follows. The first of these is to be always ready to keel over and die, to have my affairs in order, my relationships in a good, sound place, and my life's work in a state of readiness for my passing. All of these things are just like that. So since it is my first objective, it's the one that I focus on most, and I have everything set up just right. So if I pass, my wife and daughter will be well taken care of. There's no one to say goodbye to, and my book is done. The way I like to imagine it is no backward longing glance. So imagine that I have just enough time to be alive that I can close my eyes and go forward into the emptiness, and not thinking, but the thing I forgot to do. None of that. There will be no things that I forgot to do. There will be things undone, but everything's in a state. Number 2 is to make good and effective use of my time. Life is brief, over in an instant, winking out. Now, death is upon each of us, just there, over your right shoulder. Yeah, you can't see it maybe, but it's there. I'm not going to waste my time. There's no room in my life for reruns. To develop and maintain good and sound life principles. That's these 7 objectives and 32 principles that I'm reciting now, and I work on these every day by virtue of this good life meditation, and actively thinking about these as I work through the day and I counter opportunities and challenges. I ask myself, what principles are useful here? What objectives can I reach? It's a project. And to strain the fun. I'm a project manager, in fact. So I guess it makes sense. 4, I think. 4, yeah. To cultivate good emotional reactions. To become a person who does not react too unduly or too out of character or too out of sorts to what happens to me, good or bad. Neither exalting too much at my fortune, nor whining and complaining and lamenting too loudly at things when they go wrong. Next is to to perform good actions, just to do good things throughout the day, where good is clearly defined as whatever it is that helps to improve the well-being of thinking creatures, like making my little rescue dogs happy. Oh, Rudy here had a tough life. He's kind of he's got issues. But you don't have to worry about not being comfortable and safe with me. I'll take care of you, Rudy. Doing good things throughout the day. Big, small, everything in between. Finally, number 7 is number 6, that is 2 more, to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities so that I'm not spending my time unduly on things that are outside of my scope of control, which is a lot of stuff. The Stoics would indicate that apathy, indifference belongs to health, fame, and reputation, which constitutes a lot of stuff. What is within my control is how I react to what happens in the world and the decisions that I make. Everything else is in the realm of apathy. Not that I don't care, but I recognize where I have no control. And I'm indifferent to those things. Or at least I try to be. Boy's got to have a dream. Finally, the 7th objective is to do just one thing at a time, and to do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. To never, ever multitask, and to never, ever rush. Am I good at that? Getting better. Every day I'm getting better. It's an uphill climb, as I'll mention later. Those are my 7 objectives. Those are the things that I'm striving for. Those are the things that I'm endeavoring to attain. Not necessarily for myself, but for all of us. Because if I can be a man of temperance, a man of discretion, a man of principles with sound and solid objectives and objectives that tend towards the direction of virtue, where virtue is defined again as seeking after the improvement of the well-being of thinking creatures, then my time here will have been something more than just passing time. Okay, now my 32 principles are as follows. 1, the principle of war, to always be fighting against everything that I think is true, everything that is proposed to me is true, at least those things of any seeming consequence. Mundane, trivial things I don't worry about. I'm not going to challenge. But the big stuff, certainly am. 2, reason, and the sub-principles of honesty, objectivity, doubt, fortitude. Honesty, objectivity, doubt, and not fortitude, doubt and humiliation. Reason is the arbiter of what is true in my world. I will not accept propositions on faith or wishful thinking or feigned results, or even real results for that matter. Results aren't necessarily the important thing. It's the constituent soundness of what we are endeavoring to do. Because even the sound principles will sometimes yield results, unsatisfactory results. I mean, life is complex and a lot of things going on. So at least if I know if my principles are sound and my objectives are good, then I'm hit. I'm trending towards improvement, even though I'm missing the mark sometimes. So reason includes honesty, being honest with myself and others, objectivity, looking at things from multiple sides under various and complete and thorough light of as much as I can. Doubt, being a skeptic, asking questions, holding my opinion in reserve, never making it absolute, with the exception of some things that I simply I seemingly make absolute for the sake of operational effectiveness. But still, building models of reality rather than conclusions about reality, because models are tentative. Conclusions can fool us to think that they're absolute, so I try to avoid that. And then humiliation, welcoming the chance to be humiliated and to discover that I'm absolutely wrong, preferably in public and in front of everybody else in an embarrassing circumstance, so that I can learn to eat crow and do so with the fortitude and the pleasure even of discovering that I've been disabused of something that was wrong. That should be a moment for rejoicing, in fact. Humiliation, maybe a little bit, maybe some embarrassment, but underneath, and maybe hopefully one day exposed at the surface, gratitude and joy. I was shown that I was wrong. Lucky me. Next principle, that is the homunculus, the idea that there's a little consciousness that resides behind my forehead. You have one too, there between the ears, operating this mortal coil. Big deal, Kurt. So what? We have a consciousness. The other part of that is that consciousness is trapped within us. I don't think there's any escape. There's no soul. Nothing about us will live forever besides our energy and our constituent molecules and atoms, which in fact are just frozen energy. No, no forever. Next comes dog hair in your coffee. Next comes, thank you, Rudy. Next comes, after that comes what's next? The anchor hold. The idea that consciousness is trapped. I really should use those two together. Homunculus and anchor hold really go together. They are the idea of no soul, just the consciousness, and it ain't gonna last. It ain't gonna survive our death. So there. At least there's no good reason to think so. Then comes the home of good and evil. Right and wrong are opinions that we hold, mere opinions, subjective, only objective when they comport to reality. Only objective when our opinions are a match for what really is the case. Like if I tell myself that if I slip off of the roof of a 3-story building, I'll probably break my legs or my neck. That's an objective fact. Can be tested and be demonstrated to be true. Does it mean that it's right or wrong are associated with that? No, it's not objectively right or wrong that the fact of breaking your legs is a bad thing. Well, maybe it could be, right? Because you could say what it boils down to, okay, it is in terms of virtue, right? Because breaking our legs is certainly not on the path of virtue, but even virtue itself is subjective insofar as the universe doesn't constitute survival or well-being or happiness or peace or as good, or pain and suffering and disease and death as bad. It doesn't think so. Unless it doesn't even think. So eventually it boils down to a subjective opinion, even the idea that falling off of a roof and breaking your legs is a bad thing. So good and evil wind up being between our heads, residing with the homunculus, our opinions. Not absolute, not floating between the stars or chiseled on any stones. Got a question. I was just thinking about this the other day. Isn't it was it the second commandment? Thou shalt have no gods before thee, thou shalt make no. Is it the second commandment? Thou shalt make no graven images. I mean, it depends on which. Don't the 10 Commandments show up 3 times in the Pentateuch? The first five books of the Bible, the Torah. Isn't it that thou shalt, and they're different, right? Isn't it thou shalt create no graven images? But weren't the 10 Commandments chiseled on graven image on stone? Isn't that a graven image? But maybe it was God's finger that wrote it. I don't know. Anyway, I'm totally off in the weeds anytime. come back. This is the kind of stuff that I think about when I do my Bible study, which I'll do after this. It's actually my favorite thing, probably my second favorite thing of the day is studying the Bible. My first favorite thing is dinner with my wife. I love that. That's the high point of my day by far. We have our shows and we have our meal and we have some time together and we have our dogs. It's really, really nice. It's fun. But then my second thing is absolutely adore reading the Bible. I look forward to it every morning, one chapter a day. I'm in Hosea 12, I think, this morning. And I love thinking about the whole length and breadth of the Bible. I don't believe any of it. There's the historical pieces in there. There are facts in there that match history, but I don't believe the mythology, in there. But it sure is fun to read and study. Anyway, I'm way off topic. Come back, Kurt. Swing it all the way back. I was talking about the homunculus, the anchor hold, the home of good and evil. The next one is purpose. My three purposes in life, which I kind of already alluded to, are 1, being a good husband and father, 2, being a virtuous human being, working to improve the well-being of thinking creatures, and 3, my own personal purpose is the promotion of my book, Going Alone. Yeah. You're one of my purposes too, Rudy. Now, the number 6 is the atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces, flowing and changing, and ever forever transforming, including you and me. And then the principle of nature. Everything in the universe has some particular nature, including you and me. And then the pirate ride. Free will. She be an illusion. We are reaction engines. We are nothing more than very complex chemical reactions that happen to seemingly be aware of ourselves, yet nevertheless we follow the laws of physics, and we unravel in the ways that chemical reactions do, boiling in a way kind of a sort, heated by energy from the sun and warm from within the earth. Wasn't it what they said, the fizzing sodas, right? We're all just a bottle of fizzing soda. But a lot more complex. Kind of a maniacal laugh there, eh? I'm intrigued by this idea that no free will, but nevertheless we've convinced ourselves that we have it, right? I can't reconcile in that because I am one of us. I am one of those engines that believes I am free, yet I am convinced that that's not the case, but I can't. I'm convinced that it's not the case, but I can't operationally onboard it. It remains a paradox to me how I can believe it but not act upon it. But with rare instances, Stoicism helps me to get there. When I'm recognizing where apathy belongs. Apathy, of course, then helps me to see what is outside of my control, which hints at the great influence that the wide universe has upon everything. The unthinking wide universe, I think. Next comes maturity, and the sub-principles of wisdom, fortitude, and integrity. We are wise, we are mature when we wisely remember our past successes and failures, have the fortitude to do better, and enjoy the resulting integrity of a life in alignment with our principles and objectives. Life results that are in alignment, moreover. Then comes the social principle. We're social creatures. We need each other. I need you, you need me. Even if we never meet, we need each other. We need each other to live well so that we can all benefit from the concerted effort of each of us pushing hard on pulling hard at the oars on this great ship of ours. Pull, stroke, as the slave driver says, the universe at large. Okay, then comes public speaking. Oh, and I forgot there's 3 sub-principles of the social principle. These are diplomacy, justice, and conspiracy. We work hard to be diplomats with one another, working to work out our differences and come to agreements about what constitutes justice, and then conspiring together to make that happen. Next comes the principle called public speaking, which has, I think, 4 sub-principles, 5 maybe, 4. These are best words, prudence, eloquence. That's it, right? Yeah, I think that's it. No. And then the two negatives, the two baddies, that would be rumor and gossip. That's 5. Wow. So best word. So public speaking refers to both spoken word, written word as well. I recommend, and when I say I recommend, I'm recommending to myself. This is my meditation after all. I do this for myself. The only reason I record it, well, there's 2 reasons now that I record it. The only reason I record it is that I do a better job if I know I'm going to upload it. So it's like performance anxiety, right? I'm going to do a good job because maybe someone will see it. I also do it because I get a lot of correspondence from people who watch these things and tell me, wow, that really helped, including people who write to me and tell me, I didn't commit suicide because I watched your damn video, Kurt, and I decided to stick around, and I'm here 9 years later. I got that recently. That wasn't a result of this video. That was a result of videos that I made in the Lyle's Brothers series when I was back in Japan, which were along the same lane. I didn't have the Good Life Creed back then. So yeah, I work hard at this. So public speaking then is the principle that suggests that I, we, us should be very careful about what we say and what we write, using the best words, cultivating a good vocabulary, using the best words, picking the best words from that vocabulary that are not show-offy but are apt and to the point and convey our meaning in a way that is effective, which result, and then pushing that through the filter of prudence, where prudence is thinking about and aligning our principles and objectives, thinking about and aligning our words, more dog hair, with our principles and objectives. It's a filter. It's a writing tool. A writing tool is in writing things up and getting it straight. The result is that if we can do those things, we wind up being eloquent. Especially if we practice speaking a lot, we write and we speak beautifully. Now, there's something attractive, even if you can't speak well. There's something attractive, but I mean that in the drawing way. It draws people to you. There's attractiveness in someone who can communicate and who's clearly has integrity, right? What they're saying belies a foundation, a strong foundation of principles and objectives, and a deliberate effort to communicate in alignment with those. People can see through that. People can see us when we're disingenuous. They can spot that. Even if they don't know exactly what part it is, they can sense something's not quite right here. It's our little spidey sense going on. When we are speaking well and we have good values to filter through, and especially when they're immediate. And that's what doing this daily does. Every day, 30 minutes to an hour, thinking about this stuff, it makes it right there. It's like having the tools in my hand. I can't utter the words without passing them through my filter first. People trust that. They like that. They're warm to it. And it helps a lot to facilitate better relations. That's what public speaking is after. Best words, prudence, resulting in eloquence, and avoiding passing rumors and avoiding gossiping, where gossip is easily defined as talking about someone else behind their back in such a way that if they were suddenly there to hear what we were saying, we would be so embarrassed that they overheard what we're saying. So I always imagine that anybody that comes up in topics of conversation that people want to talk about when they're not there, I just seal my lips and I try to change the subject, or I step away. Don't do it. Okay, next after public speaking comes 2 principles that go together: distraction and agency, and the great indifference. The great indifference is the emptiness of the universe that I mentioned before, that universe without God. A lot of us don't want to see that, so we distract ourselves with all kinds of things. We keep ourselves very busy with our work and our families and our TV and our hobbies and our politics and our families and our religion and our God. And all these things keep us busy. We don't have to see the great emptiness out there, and we can tell ourselves, there's consequence, this matters, this is important, there's forever a supplication, prayer, I'll see you all in the next life, and then you're dead, and then made it through it. I didn't have to face the emptiness. What kind of life was that, though? You know, living a life of distraction, covering the ears and the eyes and the mouth, so to speak. Covering the mouth from speaking the truth, the apparent truth. We are on our own. Okay, next is, I think it's the fiver, right? Temperance. Temperance, life will not go well. The horror show, that which must be born, and agent, and the Feast of Offal. Taken together, I strive to control my consumption of all things, work and play, etc., right? Everything, how many cookies I eat, how much coffee I drink, everything, just in moderation. And it teaches me and trains me and prepares me to live a controlled life. I'm actively measuring the way that I speak right now. This is not a natural way to speak. This is a deliberate effort to speak in a controlled, measured manner. It allows me to hold my words as they come through, to pick them through, and not just rush to the result. I do this with all things. I do this at work in particular with my meetings. I do this with my interactions with my family. I do this even with myself as I'm walking. When I take the dogs out in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening for their walks. I walk carefully, deliberately, slowly. I try to avoid multitasking, although I do indulge myself in reading while I walk, because I do so love to read, and I have so few opportunities, and walking is a great opportunity. Never mind the fact that I do run into a light post from time to time or stumble off a curb. I rarely ever, kick the dogs, though. I don't think I've ever really kicked them. I get tangled up in the leashes sometimes. Anyway, off track. So that's what the benefit of temperance. Life will not go well simply suggests that don't expect today to be spot on. Things are going to happen. There'll be more dog hair in my coffee again, perhaps. The dogs won't let me finish making this video. There'll be problems at work. My meeting, I won't get to all the points on my agenda on my meetings, etc., etc. You can enumerate a list all day long. Things will not go well. I'll talk later about the bullseye aim, where we strive for the mark but usually miss. Expect to miss the target altogether. Off it goes. The dart didn't even hit the board. The throwing axe spun on past. Sometimes it'll hit the mark, but that's the exception. Also, sometimes things just don't go poorly. They go horribly. That's called the horror show in this worldview. The horror show is when things go south to the extent of horror. And I like to enumerate sometimes some instances, some examples of the horror show, but I can't take it. It's just too hard. I did it yesterday, and I did a crappy job at it. I'm not good at touching the horror. But I need to, because I know that the horror is coming for me. And I know it's coming for all of us. It may be already here for some of us. It may be just behind my shoulder right now for me. But I'm going to give myself a pass. I don't require myself that. It's too much to do. It makes me say 4-letter words. I don't like saying 4-letter words, especially not on camera. Okay, let's see. Moving on. Nothing to see here. Then comes the Feast of Offal. The Feast of Offal is the upset that we throw out into the world when we've had enough and we can't control ourselves, and it hurts other people when we do that. So I don't do that. And when other people do it, I tend to distance myself a little bit, let them have their tantrum, offer them a Kleenex if they need one, and a hug if they want when they're done, and a talk if they want. But I don't let it get me. I use Stoic indifference to put the distance between. Let them have their thing. People can, it ruins relationships, soils endeavors, and makes a mess of everything, especially if those around us indulge it, swallow it up. Consume the filth of our intemperate upset. Okay, that was the fiver. I kind of treated it as a oneer, but I did it. That's 5 principles there together. Next comes the best seat in the house. To not want to be anyone else, be anywhere else, or be doing anything else, but to be okay with who I am, where I am, and what I'm doing, all the while working towards better. then comes, I think it's the right? Forfer. The restless man, the path of wildness, the great life adventure, the risk of avoiding risk. The restless man is that person that we are, not all of us, but it seems like some people don't get bothered by this. But sometimes in our late teens, early 20s, we start feeling some restlessness. It's like, what is it? There's got to be something out there. I want to see the world. I want to explore. I want to know something else other than the safe path that I know. That's why I knew that my wife was for me when I met her. I did date a lot, but when I met Yumiko and we didn't speak well because she didn't speak English very well, and I didn't speak Japanese at all, and I still don't. And her English is perfectly fluent now. But when we met, and I realized that she told me her story, that she had been growing up in a very traditional conservative village in Japan, and she saw the great world out there, and she wanted to see it, and the efforts she had made to, after high school, to break out and to explore the world. I knew, oh, you're a part of my tribe. You're one of me, and you did it. You ended up on the other side of the world. Let's spend our life together. And it turns out that our values were also perfectly aligned to values, and we're both restless men and restless women. That's why we move so much. It's not because we're dissatisfied. It's just because it's fun. So given that was the case, we would embark on what I call the path of wildness, which is when we break off one path and head into a new path of life, a juncture, an off-ramp from life chapter to life chapter. And Yumiko and I have done it many times, and we continue to do it. We'll probably have another one or two more times. Tomorrow is an instance of that, where the moving vans are coming tomorrow. We'll be out of this place tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. They're coming. So this is my second to last video from this sofa. So yeah, the path of wildness. It's easy to find. It's the course of a stream, leaves blown in the wind, a beast's track through the brush, in the direction of our first inclination. What that leads you to is a great life adventure. The great life adventure is what happens as a result of getting on the path of wildness. It's the thing that you find and you discover in the life that you live, in this new paradigm that you create. And it reaps so many benefits. It's also tough, right? Because it breaks up roots, and it disrupts things, and it causes upset, and it's scary, and it's strange and new. But if you're a restless man or woman, you better do something about it, because the restlessness probably won't leave you alone. Anyway, there's great value to be found in the path of wildness, and great value to be found in having one or more great life adventures. That brings me to the last of the forfer, which is the risk of avoiding risk. There's a great risk in not doing that. If you are a restless man or a woman and you don't step upon the path of wildness, you don't give yourself a great life adventure at least once in your life, you're going to probably be haunted and troubled by that all your life. And you may fall into the trap, and it is a trap, of telling yourself, I'll wait until I'm old. That's not a good idea. Because you won't be the same person when you're old. You'll be old. You'll be wise. You'll be secure. You'll be frail. You'll be scared. And most of all, you'll be too smart. Because I knew he was going to bite me. As I was reaching down, I was like, this is it. See, I told you, we're all broken in some ways. And his thing is, come here, you. He feels all bad right now. His thing is that he bites. Don't know just what it is, but he bites. Yeah, he bites. See, what you have to do is you have to be careful. If you pet him up here, you're going to get bitten. If you pet him down here, you're going to be a little bit better. Yeah, he went through like 3 shelters before we got him, 3 no-kill shelters, where he was like on the ragged edge, just about to die, and he was some angels came in and rescued him. And finally we got him. And when we got him, he couldn't even walk. He would just lay on his back and with his feet pointing up in the air. And so scared and so broken. And I use the word broken, but that people don't like to hear that. But I think we can be broken in a way, and we can be mended. And he's mine. He attached to me. Emily's the one that picked him out. But he attached to me. He's my boy, but he still bites me. This time he didn't draw blood. Sometimes he draws blood. I'm used to it. Right? Yep. Okay. One bite out of the way. All right, so where was I? I was, the deep rest. You got to have the deep. If you don't attend to that deep rest, it's going to haunt you. And you can't assuage it in old age because you're not the same. And, and I'll just leave it at that. Do it while you're young. The surface level risks of life are the 5. There's education, career, home, family, and preparing for old age. They're hard, but you can do them. Everyone's going to help you, right? Institutions are set up for that end. It's the tricky one, is the deep risk. It's hard to do both. Usually if you spend too much time on the deep stuff, you suffer in the surface level stuff. And if you spend too much on the surface level stuff, you neglect the deep stuff. That's the scary one, because I think it's a lot easier to deal with old age with a smaller, living in an apartment without as much stuff, and maybe having to work a few years more before you can retire than your peers, than to have never had the adventure, right? Because there's scary stuff with that. But I've dwelled enough on that. Okay, so I did that. That was the four for right. And next comes sin and damnation. There are 7 sins in my worldview. These are falsity, being untrue; credulity, believing things too easily; faith, believing things where we use the fact of the belief as the foundation for the belief. What? Superstition, believing things that are categorically nonsense. Dogma, believing things based on a blessed tradition, a big book, whatever. Authority, believing things because we're really impressed by the person who's telling us about it. And then rumor and gossip. I always forget it's actually 8. These things, doing any of these things results in a sin, or sins of the sort, not a sins against any God, but they're sins against well-being, they're sins against the good life. And they pay a price in the consequence of being damned in the here and now, living a less than optimal life as a result of these things. And you can think that you can get away with them, and you can't. You pay a serious penalty now and now. Next comes sin and damnation. Complete oblivion. After we're dead, that's it. There's nothing else to follow. No soul, no afterlife, no God, no forever. We're not going to see our loved ones again. We won't have a chance to reconcile any differences, and there won't be any final justice. So live the best life we can now before it's all over. Because when it's over this time, it's over for good. Never coming back. Now, then comes, what is next? The bullseye aim. I talked about that before. Shooting for the mark but missing. The uphill climb. Trudging up today. I'm going to be higher than up tomorrow. Not higher, but higher up, and having more of a vista, a better view, because I worked hard through the day. And then the arena and utility. Life is this arena, like I mentioned before, where if we regularly exercise our principles and objectives, we have them at the ready to use. Then arena and utility. Nothing is enough. Less is better. And then the principle of fun, striving to have a good time today, to remember the good times from yesterday, and to plan for the good times tomorrow. I'm getting better at all those things because I work at it and I practice since I onboarded this as a principle. And I make it the final principle because it's the one I want to have keen in my mind and ready to use as I endeavor through the day. Okay, let's talk about the coming day, but I had one more thing to add. I forgot to mention earlier, and I can't believe I forgot it. Emily, my daughter, passed her final examination to become a fraternity member at Pi Sigma Epsilon, I think it is. I can't quite remember the letters, the Greek thing. Who knew Greek life for my daughter? She is now a full-fledged brother of the fraternity. It's a co-ed fraternity. Good for her, Emily. I'm very proud of you. You did great. You're always doing mom and dad proud. And if you ever see this, Emily, what we're most interested in seeing out of you is virtue and integrity. Be a good human being. The rest is icing on the cake. And we're glad that you are. As for today, got lots of meetings today. Important meetings. I've also got to begin breaking things down after work for the final move. The trucks will be here at 8 o'clock. I'm going to move everything out. I've got stuff I've got to get rid of. Got to set it out on the street and put the free box on it. Got to take care of my dogs, take them for a walk. Look at this guy. Look at that guy over there. looks like the princess on his many mattresses. I am going to then clean up, start my day in earnest. I'm going to have a very good, solid day of work. I'm going to get so much done. I'm going to get so much done. It's going to be a good day. Hard day. I'm going to be exhausted by the end of the day. But I'm going to move forward. I'm going to move forward. I'm going to be a better man by the end of the day than I was at the start of the day. And the world will be a better place for my having lived this day. Better in terms of virtue. Well-being shall be improved. Thanks for joining me. Be safe, but not too safe. Take care.